Let me say yeah. Let me say yeah.
Welcome to the Cheap Seats Hockey Podcast. This is episode 7 or 8? 7.
7. Yeah.
7.
We're
back.
Might be 8.
Yeah, who cares? We're back. That's all that
We're
matters.
back. Yeah, it's
We're
been
back.
a while.
Yeah, it's been a little while again, a little busy. Busy time of year. So, but here we are. We got some hockey stuff to talk about tonight with you guys, and recording here on Sunday night, late Sunday night, because old Jimbo had a ball hockey game. How'd it go?
Yeah. We won in a shootout.
Nice.
So, actually, well, it wasn't that nice. We were up 3-0, about 4 minutes to go, and the other team
Nice.
tied it up. Yeah, got into some penalty trouble, so the boys rallied, and we were able to get the win in the shootout. So we're up 1-0 in the series. So
Well, better to be up than down, right, buddy?
I agree. So good night overall.
Okay, some other news that came out since we last recorded. You and your son Josh are starting a new business venture. Why don't you tell people about that really quick, in case anyone's interested?
Yeah, so one of the hobbies that my son and I have is we do a lot of sort of video editing, or my son likes to make like little mini videos or mini movies, and so
And he's good. Trust me, you guys,
Yeah.
he's good at this stuff.
Yeah, he's very good, and like it's something we both enjoy doing. So I kind of just said to him, I was like, hey, what did you want to do, like kind of do like a little business together where we can try and do some different types of videos for people, whether it be like doing stuff for real estate with homes, or promoting a business or whatever. So yeah, we're still working the stuff out, but I thought it'd be a good experience for him, and nice little part-time job for myself too. And so that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I just thought we could throw that out there. And if anybody who does listen, if you have a small local business, let us know, because we just want to share it with our friends, and
Absolutely.
no strings attached. Just we just love to spread the word about like what you offer, and like let this kind of be a networking tool for you too. So we'll try to promote a local business on every episode. Even if there's 2 or 3 that we get, we'll just kind of rotate those through. And that includes what Jimmy's doing. Like, I think it's really cool. I think there's definitely a market for it. So, but yeah, you guys aren't here to hear about that. Let's get into some hockey news. You brought it to my attention. We talk about it kind of flip-flops back and forth of who's in, who's out of the playoffs. And, you said the East was a lock, and now it's not a lock, and the West is a lock. And I think the West is now a lock, but
Yeah,
do you ever bet against a guy named Sidney Crosby?
Well, I have how like McDavid is for you is how Crosby is for me. He's been terrorizing my team for 15 years. But I love him. I do. I love him. I think he's so good. I think he's like the perfect player, like in his, like maybe not towards the end of now, but if you were picking a player in their prime to start a team with, I'm like, how do you not go with him? Like his career over time and longevity, like he scored 40 this year. He's 36 years old. Like
Yeah.
this guy is just an absolute professional. He's a gamer. He understands how to win. He can do everything. He can play, he can be that shutdown centerman when he needs to be. He wins key draws. He's a nightmare down low. Everybody that plays with him is better. I mean, look at his wingers right now. He's, Brian Rust is a good player. I'll give you that. Like, maybe not a lot of people know about him. And I'd say, a little bit of the Crosby effect, but he's playing with Rust and Drew O'Connor. Like,
And
and
and they
what
get rid of Gensel at the trade deadline, and I don't know. To me, the Penguins were done, dead, over. I have a
I would
really,
have,
really close friend named Stan, and he is a huge Pittsburgh Penguins fan. And I remember, like we just talked about how like the Flames and the Penguins are kind of in the same position, like, kind of going nowhere real fast. And I think you told me it was almost like Crosby told Dubas, like, forget you, we're going to the playoffs.
yeah, I think they're obviously like, he was just like, you look at the competitiveness in him because I think a lot of guys would have been like, okay, so we traded Gensel. Clearly, n- there's no faith that we're going, by management that we're going to do anything. And, Crosby just goes, you know what? He just put the team on his back and says, let's go, right? I mean, credit also Nedeljkovic has played well since Jari's gone down. And for the most part all year, I mean, a lot of people looked at the Penguins and the underlying numbers had been good. It just uh they weren't getting a lot from the supporting cast. Like the core players were playing well. Malkin was playing well. I know people harp on Carlson, but he's actually playing well. Letang was playing well. I don't even know if Letang's even in the lineup right now. But because I think I don't know, I can't remember if he got hurt or not, but like
He's hurt a
all of a
lot,
sudden Crosby
so
just
it's a
he
it's a
just
toss up.
yeah, like he's just, you can just see he's gone to another level, and it's like I'm gonna take this team. And credit to, you got to look at too, like a lot of those teams ahead of them in the East just have fumbled the ball. Like it's like none of them really want to grab a hold of it and solidify a playoff spot, right?
Well, was it not Pittsburgh last season, Jimmy? It was like the last game of the year and they win, they're in, and they lost that game.
They lost to Chicago. Like I think it was like they had to beat Chicago. Yeah, and it was just like such a different. It's just such a different vibe. They're so far back. I mean, how many times have we been on this podcast where we're talking about the Islanders, and we're talking about the Red Wings, and we're talking about the
Capitals.
Capitals.
And that's another interesting thing I was gonna say. Like, I feel like Ovechkin's doing the same for Washington right now too.
Hmm. Yeah, he was off to a slow start, and now he's going to finish with 20. Like, what's he at for goals now? Because there was a
I'll have
while
a
there he
look.
was like, yeah, take a look. I didn't do any prep today, so I haven't checked any numbers. Normally, I spend a good
He's
hour.
got 29 goals.
Jeez, he was like at one point he was like they were worried he wasn't going to score like 15. He's
He's
going
at
to end up
12,
with
yeah,
30 goals.
forever.
Yeah, and that's just
So,
something like these guys. It just goes to show you how special those two players are because they really care so much about winning.
and like what a
And
bona fide like superstar can do for your team.
well, and we talk about McDavid and Kucherov and McKinnon and all those guys kind of surrounded around the Hart Trophy, and it's almost like Ovechkin and Crosby said, "Hey, just a reminder, we're still here. Like we're not we're not gone yet." And I'm worried. Like I'm not gonna lie, as a Rangers fan, and Pittsburgh's got a ton of momentum. They got nothing to lose. They get into that spot. And trust me, I love the Rangers, and if they lose to Pittsburgh, um, they don't deserve anything. Like, if you want to be a real contender, and then you can't be worried about who you're playing. But as a fan, I'm going, oh gosh, not again. I finally was like, this guy's out of my hair for a
Yeah.
playoff series, and here he comes, and I'm just like, get lost, please. Like, it's been since you're 18. Like,
And you're
please,
and
just.
you're like late 30s now. Like, yeah, go away.
I've watched them win
So
three
you're
cups,
telling
so
me I
that's
still got a
enough.
lot of years of McDavid to deal with, eh?
I mean, the NHL is a weird place. I mean, unless he leaves Edmonton, which I don't think, I would be surprised, but you never know, right? Like you just don't know the NHL is a weird place. No one thought Huberdeau was going to go to Calgary and Kachuk's and like all, you know what I mean? Like that trade
Yeah,
and all of a sudden Nashville's in the playoffs. Like it's been a wild year. It's been fun to watch though.
absolutely. So yeah, still a super tight race in the East. Um, I just changing gears here a little bit. was it not like 2 weeks? Was it a week or 2 weeks ago? We were talking about Austin Matthews 70 goals or McDavid 100 assists. What's more impressive? And back then we are kind of like, they're still kind of a ways off. And then all of a sudden, like McDavid is at 99 assists
So
and
he's a
Matthews is
shoe
at
in for 100.
64 goals.
I
So
still don't
Connor's
think
gonna hit
Matt.
it.
Yeah, I don't think Matthews is going to hit it. That's 6 goals in the next however many games they have left. 5 games? Are they at 77 games played?
I can check on that too. We're so prepared today. Like it's
That's fine. We don't care. We just hang out.
exactly. But
Yeah.
no, still though, 64 goals, very impressive.
Oh, it's
Um,
unreal.
we talked last week about 50 goals, how crazy that is. Um, you know, Austin Matthews has done he's scored 50 goals and still if you took 50 goals away from Matthews, he'd still have more than Huberdeau. So um
Tough one.
anyways, yeah, so he's there. He's like McDavid's gonna hit the 100. I'm so happy he didn't do it against Calgary last night, but
Yeah, we were
um
watching that game. It was tight for a while. It was
yeah,
tight
I
for a
know.
while.
It was actually a good game. It would have been nice to, kind of take the Oilers down one more time this season, but what do you do? That's hockey, buddy. It's just
Hmm.
you
Well,
go
I
through your
mean,
waves of winning and losing and
right now they're outmatched, right? Like one's gearing up for a long playoff run, the other one's trying to sort of sort out what next year's going to be like. Guys are playing for jobs, right? So, but at the same time, I felt like Calgary again when I watched them last night. They just played like a team that was having just out there and relaxed and whatever, right? So it goes both ways. Those are scary teams to play down the stretch when they just don't care.
yeah,
So,
exactly. And for me right now, it's like, yeah, you know what? Another loss is a you know just keep falling down those standings, and I'm totally okay with that. I don't. We didn't really prepare for this topic, but I do have a question like regarding the Flames for you. Um,
okay.
Tej Ginla is in a ranking. He just got ranked sixth for this upcoming
Hmm.
draft. He's having a monster playoff right now with Kelowna. What do you do if you're Craig Conroy when you step up to that podium? Like, do you feel almost obligated to say to call Tej up and give him a Flames jersey and welcome him to the team, or do you just do you have to separate yourself from that? And because
You
as a
have to.
fan, it's
Mhm.
like, yeah, like, oh, I'd love if Tej again like came to the team, but as like a realist, you're like, get the best player.
Well, I mean,
Maybe he is the best player though.
well, that's the thing. Like, if he is the best player, then cool. But if you're just going by, well, let's draft him because it's a Ginla. Like, take the name off of it and be like, would we take this guy?
Yeah,
Right? Like, and so I think you can't run a team like that. But hey, I would say if you're sitting there going and you're hemming and hawing between maybe two or three different players and you're not completely sure, like I'm sure there are plenty of debates among scouts when they get together, and at the end of the day it'll be Conroy's call. But if it's close, I mean it's a good story. And the other part of it is like, how does Tej feel about that? Does he want to go to Calgary?
yeah.
Like, you look at like other father son, like, obviously Domi went to Toronto, his dad played there. Um,
Well,
do they
I
want
just
that or
and I was just gonna bring that up because is it
yeah.
Josh Doan just made his NHL debut for the Coyotes, and
Hmm.
he got 2 goals in his first game, and he's got like 3 assists, and he's just
Yeah.
killing it right now. He's only played a few games, and he's lighting it up. And I
Hmm.
wonder how much of that falls on like just emotions and in the moment, and so I don't know. It's
I
got to be
couldn't
it's going to be a hard decision. So
I think I couldn't see any reasonable parent being like, well, putting that pressure and be like, well, I played for this team, so my son, you should take my son and he should play there as well.
Right.
I think that I think that there, I think as a parent, just if you played, you played in the NHL and just to see your kid get there, like that's a pretty special accomplishment. Like obviously like my son, like I was just happy to see my son play ball hockey because like I played ball hockey or like my son played ice doesn't mean he had to play for the same organization in ice, right? He's kind of carving out his own path. He's a different player and you know, it's funny to see like some of the it's funny to see some of the players that played and then their kids. Though. You still with me there, Philly?
Yeah, we did. I just lost you there for a minute. You just repeat that part. Sorry,
Which
everybody.
part?
I live in rural Alberta and sometimes my internet's sketchy. So if that
Oh.
happens and Jimmy sounds like a robot, that's probably my rural internet. So
I was just saying, like, it's funny how sometimes father-son duos are sort of very different players. Like, you might get like for example, if you look at Gabriel Perreault, who's drafted by the Rangers, Yannick Perreault was like a face-off specialist and kind of a defensive type forward, and Gabriel Perreault was like this really skilled, slick playmaking type player. Like
yeah.
almost he's basically Jake Gensel. So um, it's just funny how they don't a lot of them don't follow the same mold. Like and the game's changing too, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. Like the difference too is like, with Josh Doan, like he's a 37th overall pick. Like it's probably a little more lenient there to, nice story. When you're
mhm,
picking within the top 10, unless you get like a Matthew or Brady Tkachuk in there,
mhm.
you're probably going to take the best player available, right?
Well, I mean, I'm sure the St. Louis Blues would have loved to have grabbed a Kachuk at the time,
Yeah,
but
exactly,
they weren't in a
exactly.
position to get him. Yeah,
Anyways, that was kind of a little rabbit trail sidetrack. I saw a
that's
crazy
okay. I like
stat
it.
the other day. Crazy stat. And I brought it up to you and we said we have to talk about this on the podcast. Jeff Skinner just played his 1000th NHL game. How many playoff games has he played? Not one.
Yeah, zero.
Zero
That's
playoff
wild.
games. That is a
And I was
crazy stat.
and we were trying to find out if there was any others, and we couldn't find it. Like I named a couple where I was like, I think I named Olli Jokinen, but he had played 6 games, I think, right?
With the Flames, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Do you
And
want to
then
know
you said
something?
Schmid too.
Yeah, but Schmid didn't even make close to 1,000, did he?
He was like 500 and something games. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was off by 400 games. That was close.
Yeah.
But you know what's something crazy, and actually our mutual friend who's a Flyers fan would know this, is one year it came down to the last regular season game and it was Flyers Rangers and it was win and get in. They were like identical records where if they go to a shootout
I
and
remember that.
Ole Okinen for the had to score and he got stopped and the Flyers got in and the Rangers were out. So had he had the destiny to get into the playoffs there, that would have been kind of interesting. I remember that sucked.
Yeah.
So for me, that was a pretty heartbreaking loss.
Yeah. I just don't understand how you play that long in the league and you're on a losing team every year. You've like never made the playoffs.
Well, he was
How
he was
many
on a pretty
seasons
good
is how many seasons is 11 game? Is 1,000 games?
quite a bit because he was drafted by Carolina, and I think he came in right around the time that they were, they started to kind of falter a bit, and then obviously he goes to Buffalo. Uh, he signs a monster deal there. Like the problem with Skinner
It's
is,
untradeable, right? Like he
well, yeah, I mean, I think Buffalo maybe could trade it, but they would have to package some extras on top of that. And then that
Probably
team,
just
I
go
mean,
to
that team is,
Arizona.
and I think it's 13 years for them to missing the playoffs. They blew a big game today against Detroit. Um, that team's an interesting one because I like what they have there, but I really feel like they need like a veteran superstar, someone who's been there before, who can just like,
Like a Jack Eichel.
well, well, I was like, I had to pause for a minute. I'm like, well, that situation. I mean, Jack, it was like they did two rebuilds in one
We
sort of.
you better warn our great friend Andrew Ginther not to listen to this podcast today. So
I don't know. Maybe I'll send it to him.
yeah.
Andrew knows. I mean, it's funny because every time I talk to him, I said, dude, like he's always preaching patience. I'm like, patience. I'm like, you were in your 20s, man, when this team won, like, or like
Yeah.
last time they made the playoffs. Like I think Chris Drury was on the team. I don't remember the last time they got in, right? Like it's wild to me. Like that fan base is
Was it the Brett Hall goal?
no. I'm trying to think. 13 years ago would have been 20. No, they would have had back when they had those teams with like Breer and Drury and
Yeah.
uh Buron was in net, maybe. I don't know. Ryan Miller, like back in those kind of days. They had some good teams. Hot take, they would have beat the Carolina Hurricanes in '06 if they didn't have 5 of 6 defensemen out. They would have been in the Stanley Cup final, and I think they would have they would have beat the Oilers in less than 7 because they were the best team in the NHL at the time in '06. They were lethal. They were fast. Their D could move the puck. They had great goaltending. They
Who
would have
was
won
their
the Stanley
coach
Cup
that
that year.
year? Lindy Ruff.
Yeah. Well, Lindy's time has passed. It just goes to show you though how much Andrew Burnett meant to that Devils organization,
Yeah.
I think. And now he's got him going in Nashville. So question for you, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Which one of those teams in the East is gonna grab the last playoff spot?
Oh, I think I'm going Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh's gonna sneak in. Um, they're obviously feeling it right now and probably getting hot at the right time and
Mm-hmm.
looking like they're rolling. So I'm I'm probably gonna be wrong. I told you the Colorado Avalanche were gonna um beat the Dallas Stars in the Central, and Dallas went on a tear after you said it was Dallas. So anyways, um who do you go for?
Yeah, I like Dallas. Detroit on paper is. I mean, I don't like their depth down the middle. I think they're missing a centerman. Like I like Andrew Kopp, but I think Kopp's your third line center. Um, but oh man, I mean, what if Sorokin gets hot these last 5 games? The Islanders could sneak in. I think the Flyers don't have enough games left, and we were talking again with our mutual friend and said they really got to beat Columbus and Chicago, and they lose to Columbus.
And he's a huge Flyers fan, and we're gonna introduce you to him in the next couple episodes for sure. He's gonna jump on. This guy is a super smart hockey mind. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, he basically told us yesterday the Flyers are toast. So we'll see, we'll see. But
But I never count out John Tortorella though. Did you see when Friedman posted that 15-minute kind of conversation he had with the media? I thought it was incredible.
no, I didn't see it. Why don't you tell
Uh,
everybody about
I'll,
it?
I'll, he just talked. He was just kind of had like an open, honest, raw conversation about his team and what he's trying to do and what he's trying to accomplish. And like when you hear him kind of speak, it's just like he almost seems like the type of guy you'd want to just like run through a wall for. And I think he gets, I think sometimes he does things that are detrimental to him, but at the same time, they're like they're like things that if you buy in, like, you could become a better player or a
Hmm.
better team. Like he pushes you beyond sort of what you think you're capable of, which I like. But at the same time, you can also lose guys in that sort
Right.
of thing. So, but I mean, what he's done with that team, the fact that we're even talking about the Philadelphia Flyers with 4 games to go, potentially making the playoffs, like I looked at their opening day roster and I'm like, they're going to compete with San Jose for a lottery pick. I thought that team was awful, awful.
And
And what?
then I think we talked about this last episode, the stuff with Carter Hart. You lost your top goaltender.
Yep. And then you get another guy comes in, and I mean he's hanging in there, but it's just like I think they're on fumes.
Yeah,
And one of the things Torts talked about in that sort of interview there was he talked about he's like these guys need to understand what it's like to go to another level.
yeah.
And I think you're seeing that with them, and you're seeing that with the Buffalo Sabres. Like I don't think the Sabres, they're so young that they really don't understand what level you need to go to in order to make that push in, because that was a huge game with Detroit. And you could just tell like the Red Wings came out boom, 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 3-0. Like they were ready to go. Right. And then it was a pretty even game after that.
And that, sorry, that did that win today did actually slide Detroit into the playoff, into the second wild card spot. So they are in right now. Pittsburgh is outside looking in. But yeah, no, I agree. I agree with the Sabres, and it's got to be tough for like a young team. And
Well, and the thing is a lot of their veterans are UFAs, so they won't
yeah,
be coming back. Um, and so now what do you do? Like, do you just plug more young players? Like, I really think they're getting to the point where, they got a lot of their prospect pool is so deep. They're so good. Like, they'll be fine. It's just, I think the time now, actually, I was talking to Andrew and I said, who's a guy you would package to bring in? And he said, Travis Konecny. Like, he was like, we need like a guy like that who's kind of, they're not old. Like, you don't want to bring in somebody who can't play because I don't think anybody's going to really follow that. Like,
hmm
I like what Chicago did by bringing in like Nick Foligno and that. And like Nick Foligno, obviously, he's not a game changer, but he's really being sort of like a mentor to like Connor Bedard. I don't think the Sabres need a mentor. I think they've been around in the league enough. They just need that one guy that, when there's a lull in the game that says, okay, enough's enough. Pedal down, let's go. Because I think the Sabres do a lot of good things, but then they squander games.
yeah.
Right. And at the NHL level, when you squander points, like it costs you spot, right?
Yeah, and it's kind of funny you say that because just kind of circling back around to that Flames Oiler game last night, you saw a guy like Corey Perry and Evander Kane kind of getting into it on the bench a little bit. And I had a conversation with a guy at church this morning, and he said he wonders if they told Corey Perry, you got to take care, you got to get a handle on Evander Kane, and he's kind of your problem now because we can't have Draisaitl and McDavid dealing with him. You got Corey Perry in there. He's the veteran in the room. Like, what do you think of that? Like, do you think maybe someone had a conversation with Corey Perry and they're like, "Okay, we need you to deal with Evander Kane because you're the veteran in the room."
It's hard to say whether that happened, but here's the real problem. If that's actually the case, Evander Kane's what, 32? 32 years old? How long has he been in the league?
A
He's
while,
31,
long. He was an
32.
he was
Yeah,
an Atlanta Thrasher, right?
yeah. So if you're 32 years old and a veteran has to take care of you, there's a problem.
Yeah,
Like that's how I see it. I think Perry's
you are
just
the veteran, right?
understands
Like,
he's yeah, that's exactly. I think Corey Perry is just the type of guy that he's been there. So when he stands up and speaks, people listen, and he just said, enough's enough. Like I didn't come here, right, I came here to win. Like I'm here to win. I don't have much time left. It can be frustrating because you could feel like it's like you're squandering
and this
that
could be Corey
opportunity.
Perry's last season in the NHL.
And the thing is Evander Kane is a good hockey player. I think that's the frustrating part, right? When Evander Kane is engaged and he's physical and he's forechecking and he's causing turnovers, like I think that's why you look at Draisaitl, you look at Perry, frustration because like you are better than that, and we need you to get to the next level.
Yeah,
You need everybody Hyman's got to be at his best. Hopkins has got to be at his best. McDavid and Draisaitl, no one's worried about them. They dominate every year in the playoffs. Bouchard, Ekholm, they all have to be. Skinner's got to be on. If any of those guys falter, the Edmonton Oilers will not go to the Stanley Cup final. They will not win the Stanley Cup. And they're also a couple injuries away.
Yeah,
right?
they need Evander Kane in the
No,
playoffs.
no passengers. That team's going to win the Stanley Cup. They have to have no passengers. And it goes for every team. Like
And that's
critical.
kind of what I said. That's kind of what I said in a couple episodes ago too. Like last season, the Edmonton Oilers had no Stanley Cup champions on their team,
Mhm.
and they bring in some Stanley Cups when they got Corey Perry. So, like you just said, he knows what it takes.
And they're close. Like they're right there with some of the other teams.
Yeah.
But it gets complicated when you have to start paying guys. Like you look at Vinny Desharnais, like he's just been nominated for the Masterton and he's an unrestricted free agent. He's probably going to be 1.5 million. So there's another 700,000. You got Brown's 4 million that's going to be allocated to next year. Draisaitl's going to be looking at an extension. You got Bouchard, who's one more year after this. Like he's probably going to be north of 10.
Is the
Not
window
saying that
closing?
it's not to say that the window's closing, but whoever's going to have to juggle that sort of cap gymnastics is it's my question is how are you able to improve and trying to keep all these guys together, right? It's really hard in the NHL. Now the cap's going to go up, of course, so it'll make it a little easier. And I'm not saying how will they do it. I mean, these teams have capologists. They
They
know
always
what's
find a
the
way.
deal 2-3 years out. I mean, these guys are smarter than we are. We sit there and go, this team's done because of this and that. It is going to get harder, though. Like when you have to pay Draisaitl $12 million a year, which
Yeah.
he probably will get. And your Bouchard's going to be over 10. Like, it's great. Like, Oiler fans are like, yeah, he's going to put up 70, 80 points. Well, that's going to cost a lot of money. You know, it's no different than, the Rangers are going to have to eventually sign Lafreniere. That's going to cost more money, right? Like, because he's having a breakout season. But I talk about no passengers. Like, let's go to the Rangers. This team could win the President's Trophy. Do I care? Not really, because I understand that this team is not going to go anywhere until Mika Zibanejad and Chris Kreider elevate their game. Because he can't rely on one line. I like the other lines. I think Shesterkin were fine. Fox is a Norris Trophy type defenseman. He's a top 5 in the league defenseman. But until Mika and Kreider play well 5-on-5, I am worried because you have to have everybody going to win the cup. Everybody. And there's luck along the way, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, interesting thoughts. And you and I, who, we've never played an NHL game in our life, we have no idea what it takes to win a Stanley Cup.
No, I mean, we're like anybody else, just observing it, right? And then based on what we know and on what our eyes see and the numbers, and we're trying to put together what we think will happen.
Yeah.
I mean,
we've won a few ball hockey championships though, so we kind of know what it's like, bud.
yeah. Like last year when I said Boston was going to steamroll through to the cup and then they lose in the first round. That team had
Oh,
no
I know.
flaws, except Bobrovsky played unreal, right? So,
Right. And as much as it hurt me, Matthew Tkachuk was a bit of a beast too. So
that's fandom, man. It's ebbs and flows, right? Like it's ups and downs. I'm just, you
100%.
know what? My team's good right now. I'm just going to enjoy it because one day they won't be good, right? So,
Yeah. Well, enjoy it and enjoy your week, Jimmy.
I will.
Yeah,
You
I
too.
think that's all we got for today. We're running out of time here, so
Love it.
we're gonna wrap up this episode. Follow us on what are we on, Jimmy?
We're on Instagram, Facebook, X, Apple, and Spotify, and YouTube. We're on a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. Do
And
we have more
yeah,
than just me following on X now? I think Brogy's following too now, isn't he?
yeah, we got about 4. We got to start maybe getting some tweets and engaging a little bit with the community.
Well, on
So
Facebook, I invited a ton of people, and people
perfect.
so I think we're good. So
Okay, awesome. Yeah,
check out the episode. Check out all of our stuff on social media and
yeah.
YouTube. Like I said, have a good week. Take care,
Take care.
and we'll see you around.